Thank you, Chairman. Director Saldaña, it's good to see you. I appreciate you being with us this morning, and I appreciate the candor of your testimony. That's not something that we always get in front of this committee from some of the administration officials that have been here. I want to start out by asking you about a specific immigration case that tragically impacted a family in my Northeast Texas district at the hands of a man who was for at least the second time in this country illegally. Back in April, a van driven by that man, Margarito Quintero, swerved from his lane into the opposite lane and drove a car being driven by a 42-year-old man by the name of Peter Hacking, who was a fire captain from Wiley, Texas. In the car with Mr. Hacking was his 4-year-old daughter, Ellie, and his 2-year-old son, Grayson. All three of them were killed. Now, Mr. Quintero is a Mexican citizen who entered the United States illegally the first time that we know in 2006, where he was subsequently arrested and deported in 2008. Now, I don't know how many times he re-entered the country illegally, but we know he was back for at least a second time in 2016, and obviously with tragic consequences. Now, I want to start out and go on the record to thank you, Director, for being responsive personally. When I called your office immediately after the incident, I didn't expect to get a call back directly from you, and I received one. And what you told me during the phone call about what ICE was going to do was able to provide the Hacking family with a small but I think very important token of assurance that justice wouldn't be ignored. So I'm grateful to you, and I know the Hacking family is as well, and I want to go on record to that point. I think the fact that I felt compelled to urgently pick up the phone and call you really speaks to the larger problem. I felt compelled to do that because I was aware of a similar accident in Nebraska that resulted in an illegal alien posting bail and then fleeing the country because ICE had declined in that case to issue a detainer. So I was really acting out of fear, and I'm sure you can understand why I wasn't about to let that happen to one of my constituents. So again, I want to thank you for issuing the detainer so that we know that if Mr. Quintero is somehow released from local custody, we have the comfort of knowing that he'll go into federal custody. But let me ask you about that specific case, if you can provide me an update, because Mr. Quintero has been charged with 3 counts of manslaughter by the Collin County DA and is waiting trial on those charges. But can you provide me an assurance that, and the Hacking's family and my constituents, some assurance that Mr. Quintero will also face federal charges for illegal reentry?
Yes, and thank you for your kind remarks, Congressman. As I told you, I made a commitment regarding Mr. Quintero. He is from my state of Texas as well. I mean, he was, the accident occurred in my state of Texas, and the victims were from Texas. We have a detainer on him. That means that we will be hearing, and we have no problems from Collin County. You're very familiar with the area with respect to cooperation on those detainers. We will keep an eye out on the trial, and hopefully he will get a long sentence, and then after that sentence, we will retain custody. We will obtain custody and proceed further there.
Thank you, Director. I guess as a side note, it's an issue outside of your jurisdiction, but I would for the record say that this really speaks to the larger issue that my constituents really care about, which is border security. To that point, even if you're perfect in your job with respect to the enforcement of our immigration laws, if someone like Mr. Quintero can, after removal from our country, simply walking back and forth across an imaginary line and commit more crimes, then I think we're doing the American people a grave disservice. But having said that, Director, an issue where you do have jurisdiction and can play a role in addressing situations like this that are frankly happening far too often is with respect to the 287G program. And so if county and local jurisdictions want to participate in the ICE 287G program to assist ICE in enforcing our immigration laws, why isn't ICE leaping at the chance to do that? And the reason I say that is I know there are at least 10 jurisdictions where application to be part of that have been pending with ICE for a number of years.
Well, since I've been on board, we have reviewed the requests of jurisdictions who have indicated interest in 287G. I have signed several letters approving the expansion of 287G to several jurisdictions, including some in Texas. We are open for business with respect to that. We do look carefully at the jurisdiction, make sure that they understand what their role is, what our role is. We will accept those requests and review them, and then to the extent that they would be appropriate partners with us under our requirements under 287G, we will engage them.
Okay, so can I take it then from your testimony that the backlog that's there, as I understand it, is maybe due to manpower as opposed to?
No, actually, I can pretty much assure you, we can talk about specific jurisdictions as a follow-up to the hearing, sir, but I can assure you that we've been back to anybody since I've been on board, we've been back to anybody who indicated an interest in 287G to inquire whether they still had that interest. Some of them do not, so we can't do anything about that. But with respect to those who have, once they pass our requirements, we certainly will take a look at them to become our partners in that program.
Great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thanks, Director.
Thank you.